Good day my people, welcome back to my channel. Now so I wear one boxer like that. I say tall somebody daughters cannot be duplicating and wearing only one boxer. I say make I double the boxer, make it become two. Now so I enter my studio, begin to search. Now so I see this African pot. I say yes, now you go dey colorful, dey scenarios for their eye. Now so I carry am come bring am come outside. Now so I wan teach you now how I cut this trouser, how I begin dey attach am, dey sew am until e turn like this. And if you never click on the subscription button, I offend you. Bless your girl with a subscription. And for those of you wey don subscribe, I dey say thank you for my end. Abeg make una dey jolly dey go. Bye. These are the measurements you'll be needing for this tutorial. The materials and tools I'll be working with is this African print material. I also have a matching thread for it, my tape rule, 1-inch elastic band. I have my chalk and a ruler. I've cut and folded my fabric. What I have here is 15 by 15 inches, 15 inches in width and 15 inches in length. How I got the bits of the materials I'll be using is my hip measurement plus 5 inches is allowance, because I don't want it to be too bogus. I want something that is close to fitted for me. So I added it to my hip measurement and I divided it by 4. I also had my sewing allowance, which is 1 inch and 2 inch for the front fork. Ensure that you mark 1.5 inches from the top edge of your fabric. This is where your measurement will be taken from. And we are working with the men's belt measurement. For the crotch line, you are going to use the half of the thigh circumference measurement. But because I'm working with my own measurement, I'm going to be marking my body rise measurement, which is 10.5. I add half inches to it, which is 11 inches. And you can also add 1 inch to it depending on what you want. So I'm marking 11 inches and I'm marking 1/4 of my hip measurement plus sewing allowance, which is 1 inch. And I'm also going to mark the same reading on the body rise as well. Also on the crotch line, I'm also going to mark 1/4 of my hip measurements plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. Before going ahead to connect my point with a straight line, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to extend the crotch line towards the front, and then I'm going to be marking 2 inches from that line. This is going to be our front fork, the front extension. Then you connect it back with a curve into that center front. And for the front fly, we are going to be marking 2 inches from the center front, and since the center front has 3 inches, I decided to use it like that. It doesn't matter. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be marking 3 inches from the crotch line towards the hip line and mark a notch. Then I'll connect it with a curve back into the front fly. You can see what I'm doing. You connect it like so back to the front fly. So the next thing you are going to do to mark half of your round thigh measurement on the hem line and add 1 inch seam allowance to it. Then you connect it to the front fork like this. And now we are going to cut out the front pattern of our boxer. After cutting, this is what you should have. And for the back, I only added 2 inches to what we have at the front. And then I place the front on the back like so. Make sure you align the edges. For the back fork, that is the back extension, you are going to be marking 2 inch, just 2 inch at that point, and you connect it back to that 3 inches point on the front boxer pattern. You can see with a curve. And then for the thigh circumference, make sure you come out 1.5 inches from your thigh circumference measurement. 1.5. That will be for the ease, because you don't want the trouser to be tight around your thigh. You want it to be a bit loose, so that's why you are going to be marking 1.5 inches from that point. That is the ease that will be around the thigh. That's all for the back, and we are going to be cutting our pattern now. Fold the fly forward like so, then you continue cutting. Now our front and back boxer pattern is ready. This is what you should have at the end of the day. So I'm going to be stitching the front boxer, and I'll stitch on that line down to the fork. So let me show you how you do that. You stitch all the way from the front fork to an 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you continue all the way down to the top edge of the boxer. Make sure you slant your stitch back into that straight line, and that's all. You take this to your iron table and you give it a nice press. I give our fabric a nice press, and this is what we have. The next thing we are going to do is to sew the front fly, and this is how you're going to do it. You're going to push that extension towards one side, and you are going to mark 2 inches from the center line and sew up to the hip line. From this line, the center line, you mark 2 inches. I'm marking 2 inches. That is going to be the width of the front fly. and you stitch all the way from the top edge. Make sure you are pushing the extensions towards one side. And when you get to the hip line, you curve towards the center line and you back stitch. Now I'm stitching the back part of our boxer. You stitch all the way back into the fork and make sure your fabric are aligned like so. After you are done stitching, you take it to your iron table and you give this a nice press. I'm done ironing and this is what we have. I'm going to be placing the front on the back like this, right side facing right side, and I'll take it to my iron table and stitch the side seam. You can see they are aligned, and also this part of the trouser, the boxer. So I'm done stitching and I give it a nice press. This is what you should have at the end of the day. This is the inside. After I flipped it inside out, this is what we have. So I'm going to fold the hem on an half-inch seam allowance. You can do one. The length of the boxer depends on what you want. I want something that is close to my butt. That's why I'm using 15 inches. You can use more. The hemming can be more than half-inch depending on what you added to your fabric when you were taking the measurement. I wanted half inches. That was why I'm hemming with half inches. You can do more than that. Now we are going to add this elastic band to the waistline of the boxer. The elastic band measures 27 inches. That is 4 inches less than my waist measurement. So I'm going to be top stitching one end of the band towards the waistline before I fold it back and top stitch. I'll take this to my sewing machine and I will show you how to do that. As you can see in the video, I placed one edge of the elastic band at the top edge of the waistline and I top stitch. You continue to pull like this until you have distributed the band evenly around the waistline. I've already top stitched it and this is what we have. I'm going back to add another seam at the top edge of the band. You can see what we have. I use a zigzag stitch to finish the waistline of the boxer. So I'm going back to add another zigzag stitches towards the edge of the band again to make it more beautiful. It's as if I'm just using that zigzag stitch to design it. So as I sew, I pull the band. I continue like this until I'm done stitching. We are done making our boxer, and this is what you should have at the end of the day. Trim off excess thread like so. This is beautiful. This is what the band of the boxer is looking like. I top stitch with a zigzag stitch. You can see how fine and fly it came out. You can also try this DIY at home and let's see what you have made. You can tag us on Instagram, Mo Elegante. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.